Hey, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to All Things Dr. Leo. Good to see you. And I welcome my guest today, Bart Orr. Give it up for the one and only. Yes, he is. This is a masterful musician that I admire and has grown just exponentially over, just out of nowhere, just came and just has been consistent. And we are so proud of Bart in this area, in the Memphis area, South Haven area. We'll talk more about that. We're going to get to know Bart. I'm going to do my announcements first this time. I know this is a little off Bart's schedule, my schedule for tomorrow. So we decided to do it tonight. So it'll be on and it'll be on my YouTube channel as well. So just a couple of announcements. On Sunday, March 31st, 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. The Oakwood University Aeolians will be our guests. They'll be with us at both services, 9 and 10:30 on March 31st. On Sunday, Good Friday, April 19th at 6:30 p.m. That's the Saga of the Cross with jazz legend Cyrus Chestnut. Brandy Sutton will be with us, as well as Reverend James Forbes, the pastor emeritus of Riverside Church in New York, with the choir. It's a great piece. They'll be doing it at 6:30 on Friday the 19th. And last but not least, next week's guest, I'm excited to announce next week's guest will be Miss Linda Twine. Linda Twine is a renowned musical director, conductor, arranger, has been on Broadway for years, conducting Color Purple. I remember seeing her do the music of Lena Horne, the woman in her music, and she has just been Caroline. All the different productions that you've seen her transform and conduct. And so we're going to talk to her how she got started in the field of conducting on Broadway, and the writing that she's done, Change My Name, just a stellar musician. So we'll get that next week. Next Friday, I'll have a flyer out and you get to hear more about Linda Twine. But today is Bart Orr, and we are thrilled to have Bart with us. Bart, we're going to go back and start with you sharing with us. Tell us a little bit about your call to music ministry. How did it all get started?
Well, it started the day I was born. I would say I've been playing drums as long as I could remember. Started playing with my grandmother, Lorraine Orr, at the age of 3 for her. They called it the inspirational choir, and I used to gather my little drum set up, and wherever they went, I went, and God just continued to bless, and we grew from there. And recently, I've been switching over to the keys, the keyboard, thanks to people like you encouraging me to do so. And
That's good. So were you able to identify early on your creative passion for music? Were you able to do that early on? So I know you said you're 3 years old. You were following the of your grandmother at the inspirational choir. Was that at Brown? Was that at your dad's church at that time too?
New Hope Baptist Church. That's my dad's home church, where Pastor Sherman Helton is the pastor. So it started there, but I can't honestly say that I identified the passion early. It was just natural. It was God-given. And I didn't start taking it seriously till I graduated from high school. So I've always played at the church just because, they needed a drummer. I was always available. It didn't happen till after I graduated that I started taking it seriously, and then it just grew to something that I just love to do.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're immersed in a phenomenal, you mentioned about your grandmother, you're immersed in a phenomenal culture of brilliantly talented musicians in your family. Tell us about your brothers and other musical talents within your family. You mentioned your grandmother, however you want to start, your grandfather, how as far back as you can remember, but tell us about your brothers.
I start with my grandmother. My grandmother played. That's who taught me the notes on the keyboard and all of that. All of my aunties and uncles played. If you was born into the Orr family, you took piano lessons from Lorraine Orr. And after that, all of my brothers play. Bates is a phenomenal musician. And we're all versatile in what we do. Bates, he's the reader. He reads everything. He's the technical. Bradford is actually well versed on the guitar. He started taking guitar when he was young. Brandon, who is actually at Berkeley College right now. He has a single out that's doing very well, and he sings and he plays and he writes. And my mom, she doesn't play anything, but she knows good music when she hears it. So,
Does.
our whole lives, even when like I said earlier, it wasn't a passion. Our family, my parents just forced us to take piano lessons and take drum lessons, and I played saxophone. I played trombone in middle school. A lot of people don't know. So I've been in the music game for a long time, even when it wasn't passionate about.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Your brother said the brother tell us your brothers that this one in you mentioned that he's at WashU. At Berkeley. What is Brad? I mentioned Bradford. Is that Bradford?
Bradford is the one at WashU. Now he doesn't take it as seriously as we do. So he's doing computer science and all of that. But the rest of us is kind of taking over our lives.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Tell us. So quite often you make reference, Bart, to your two wonderful children. I'll see Instagram posts about them, and so just tell us about your son and daughter, and then I want to know how do you balance your career because you're busy. We're going to get into that. Your career and your family time with the beautiful children. So tell us about your children.
I have two beautiful children, Bartholomew Orr the third and Brooklyn Scott Orr. Trey, we call him Trey. He's 5 and Brooklyn is 3. And man, they listen. I just did something to my hair. I'm surprised it's not gray yet because they were negative. But they're very special kids, and that's kind of what leads into how I'm able to manage the whole life piece. Trey is a walking preacher. So with my dad being the pastor that he is, it makes it's always easy for me to call up Debbie. Hey, I need you to get Trey. Trey loves church.
Yes.
He loves preaching. He loves singing. He loves shouting. Anything dealing with church, Trey wants to be a part. Now Brooklyn, we still working on her, and actually, but I'm grateful for their mother who has always just been there and always make sure that I keep up with everything. Even when I'm on the road, we do the FaceTime thing. And also they love music just as much as I do. So anything that I'm doing, they're always watching, and she makes sure that they watch, and my mom and dad also. So it's been a pretty good balance.
That's good stuff. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you and see and watch you grow with your family. You're doing a great job. That says so much. We know that you love your children. Appreciate that. So now we finish high school. I remember you coming around the boulevard a lot with the band when Tim was there and Larry, who's been with us. You were coming around as a high school. I said, this is the young boy. You were there. I saw the interest, but I didn't know where it was. I knew you were a drummer or something, but now we're at the point. I know you were going to Christian Brothers, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So who and what inspired your musical prowess? So how did that, when you said that's when I became serious, so what pushed you over to that serious side? What made you become serious?
Well, what made me become serious is I hurt my back playing basketball, and I realized this NBA thing might not work out for me.
Wow.
I played sports all my life throughout school, and had some scholarships, and I did some personal training. I was supposed to go pro, and I went up for a dunk one day in practice, and I hurt my back.
Wow.
And after that happened, I was like, dude, you need to do something that's really going to be a guarantee. And the only thing I had to fall back on coming out of high school was music. So that's when I really started taking it seriously, and I started hanging around guys like you said, like Tim and Chris Pat, who was playing drums at the time, Larry Williams, and those guys, just Lance Lucas, and those guys just really just took me under their wing and just molded me into the man I am today.
Wow, that's awesome. Who's your idol? Would you say who's your musical idol right now? Who's your musical idol?
My musical idol has always been Bruce Hornsby. A lot of people don't know him. He doesn't per se play gospel, but the music that he puts out is just simply amazing. If you ever hear him play, you can tell that he influences me a lot. So I've always loved Bruce Hornsby, and I got turned on to Bruce Hornsby through Jonathan Richman. Jonathan Richman, he's another Memphis native that's the MD for Eric Benet, and he played a change, just one little change. I was like, dude, where did you get that from? He said, oh man, that's Bruce Hornsby move. And ever since then, I've been hooked. So shout out to Richmond for hipping me to Bruce Hornsby.
Well, we're gonna get a taste of some of that, what you do and your thought process through all that. So tell us, so the brilliancy of your acclaimed artistry at drums, keyboard, uh, organ, and production have widely recruited you into a setting, sharpening and stylistically syncopating the tempo behind several premier musicians and artists. So please share with us the individuals that you work with, Bart, and that currently.
I was
Blossom. I mean, it's gone from one. How did you start? So tell us that. Where did this start from? Because I mean, it's just like out of it. We'll see you with Miranda Curtis one day, and then the next day you're going with Jacqueline Carr, and then you might be with Kurt Carr, and then you might be, I don't know, you may have a secular artist that you're doing some stuff. I mean, but you have just blossomed. So tell us where this started from. How did this begin?
Well, I would say the power of connection. Lately I've been saying the power of connection is way more powerful than the powerful currency. So it's all about who you're connected to. Wow. So I started out, and it is so funny. It started out with the gym at Brown Baptist. I was the one that had the keys to the church. So all the musicians would be like, hey, we want to go play basketball. And we used to play basketball all the time. And that's how I developed my friendship with Larry and Tim. And one day they needed a drummer, and Larry was like, hey, we need to use Bart. And after that, it just took off. And I played with them at a local gig. I'll never forget the gig. We was at Citadel, where Bishop Linwood Diller is the pastor. And we did a concert for Toya Gillard. I'll never forget. And ever since then, we've just taken off. Larry Crawford is another guy who brings a lot of concerts here to the city. And so all the artists that have come in, I've usually been the drummer, and just connecting with them, being on top of my game, just knowing my music and all of that, just being a light. They just making those connections. I started playing with Kurt Carr. From there, I met other artists, and it's just the power of connection and God just having his hand over our lives.
So stay right there. The power of connection, you said, and then you said something key. You said playing for other artists, so you happen to be there through connection. And so they would come through Memphis, but you said something very key, that you would know the repertoire. You would know whatever it was you were assigned to do. Talk a little bit about more how important that is. It's the power of connection, but it's also when you're connected, what you have to give up the results. Go ahead with that.
Well, I give a lot of credit to Tim Mason for that. Tim is that one musician where it doesn't matter what artist comes in, it sounds like Tim recorded that record. So with Tim being the MD of most of these events, he forced us to sound like the record. So if I was playing with Kurt Carr, I had to sound like Terry Baker at that moment.
Wow.
If I was playing with other artists, I had to sound like that drummer. So he forced us to match the level of intensity and the level of greatness of the records that we were already playing. So that's what got me to really pay attention to the lyrics, pay attention to the melodies, pay attention to the breaks and everything else. And that's kind of how I just got known for just knowing my stuff, and I'm going to play it. Then, show yourself, show your identity within the identity of the music.
Wow.
To separate myself from the music, but I'm still in a straight line with the music at the same time. So I've always tried to find my identity within the artist's identity at the same time.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. So who would you say has had out of all the artists that you've dealt with, or it's kind of along the same question, who would you say has had the most influence over your
Kurt Carr. Absolutely.
And why? Oh, wow. Why? Why is it? And why Kurt?
Kurt Carr, you can play for anybody. I always say that Kurt Carr is that guy that says, yo, we're going to start off. No, not even we're going to start off. He would do sound check. We would rehearse over like 5 songs, and we wouldn't do them. And he would say, well, here's the set list for tonight. We're going to start off with this song, that song, that song. And then he starts off with a whole nother song in like the bridge. He doesn't do the intro. There's no count off. He just starts singing. So wherever he feels, that's what it is. And if you're not on top of your game, you're going to fall. So you got to know every part of the song instantly at all times, because you got to be prepared. So he just always kept me on top of my game, on just being aware. I think awareness is something that musicians really got to have, whether it's spiritually, whether it's just knowing where the parts are going, all of that. So he really sharpened my awareness when it comes to music.
That's good. Go ahead and share more. That's good. So he gave you awareness. What name some other tools that you needed working with Kurt Carr that have aided in your success?
Well, playing with Kurt Carr, number one, I came in as a young gun. So I was about 19, 20 years old. And if you ever see Kurt Carr, he is top notch. He, from the way that you dress, being
Right.
on time, knowing your instrument, he's not going to tell you what to play. He's not going to tell you what to do in sound check and all of those other things. So when I'll never forget the first time I played with him, I was so nervous that I missed a couple of hits. He called me to the back. He said, "Man, I didn't call you, just because I needed a drummer. I called you because I knew you could play. So you have to have confidence." And once he said that, I've just, just every time I hit the stage, I got to have that confidence that I'm going to get the job done. Even if I mess up, you got to keep going. So between confidence and awareness, I've been able to maneuver through, just working with some of the greatest artists in the industry.
That is awesome. Now those are some confidence and awareness. That's awesome. That's good stuff. So now let's shift a little bit. You are the musical director at Brown Missionary Baptist Church in South Haven, Mississippi, where your father, Reverend Bartholomew Orr Sr., is the senior pastor. So Brown, we know, is a thriving congregation in South Haven of about 15,000 members. I think just celebrated 137 years.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So this is great. How were you groomed for this position of musical director? So this came along. Yeah, I mean, you're a musician now at the church. You started at New Hope, but now you're at Brown. Now you're the music director. How were you groomed for that? Tell us about that.
I honestly has to say it happened naturally. One way I know how to deal with people is the way my dad dealt with me. At first, I was the worker and I wasn't in charge of anything. So I used to make the mistake, show up late. I'm still working on my timing, by the way, for all the church people, because I will I will be rushing and rushing in. But just seeing how my dad handled me with care, seeing all the minister music that came before me, just kind of took me under their wing and disciplined me with love. That is so important. And understanding who I was and the potential I had. That's one thing that has been able to help me. Another thing that's been able to help me is just watching my dad naturally, just what he does, just living in this house growing up. That has always helped me out.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. Now, let me ask you this. So now you're musical director. How do you separate your position as music director and the son of the pastor? Or is there separation? So how do you separate the two? How do you navigate that with staff? Is it hard? Is it no separation? He's still dad, or?
Well, technically, I can never stop my dad from being my dad. So that's number one. But I think the way that you separate it, the way we've separated, is just learning how to respect each other and learning how to maneuver in certain areas. There's certain conversations that's got to happen at certain times, and I got this from you. We'll offline that.
Yeah.
So you have to know when you're online, and you have to know when you're offline, and that's just showing respect to the ministry, showing respect to your father, him showing respect to me as his son. And once you learn how to offline, online, that respect is natural. That should be there anyway. So it's just knowing when to say things, when not to say things, and how to maneuver through that.
That's awesome. That's good stuff, Bart. That's good stuff. So you've launched, moving forward a little bit, you launched an incredible internet challenge, the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star challenge. And this challenge created an overwhelming response and excitement for musicians and singers all over the country. What prompted this movement? What prompted that?
What you're doing now, going live and just seeing who's gonna chime in. So I was playing a groove, and somebody said, "Play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." I started playing it, and the response was so well. I felt the need to just post it on my page, and it got a nice response. And I saw younger guys.
Is your keyboard on now?
Yes, sir.
Can you play a little bit now? Can you do a little bit of it now? A little bit. Wherever you want to go with it.
Okay.
And so that prompted so many. When you did that, it just took off. What do you the movement behind? What do you think? How did that ignite? What did you think that? I'm just trying to find out the thought process behind. What do you think?
Actually, the thought process was actually showing love to other musicians, and that's the funny part of it. And it was the younger musicians that so you I understand that in the position that I am now, I'm still yet looking up to people because I'm going to forever be a student to life, to music and everything else. So I always have somebody to respect. I mean, I understand that there's other people looking at me as well. So the younger musicians that per se look up to me, it was like, hey, this is how I did it, and they sent it to me, and so I just started showing love to the younger generation. And when I started doing that, that's what prompted more kids from the younger generation to do it. So it was a challenge for them, and then other people caught on, and then you start seeing that people I respect started chiming in. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is getting crazy. And the people that they have influence over, they started chiming in too. So it was just a wave of a wave of a wave of a wave, and it got out of our hands.
Well, we thank you for hearing it, because I mean, for hearing from God and being led with it, because it was a movement. It really was a movement. I mean, when I finally saw Joseph Joubert, I don't know if you're familiar with Joseph, is a phenomenal
Absolutely.
and a conductor in Broadway, on Broadway now, doing several shows. And when he writes out all of his improvisations, but it was unbelievable what he did. So it touched all over the world.
Him do it because when I was 18, my parents took me to go see Motown on Broadway. He was the musical director.
Right. Yes.
Picture with him.
Yes.
I wasn't even playing like that. So for him to do it, that just meant the world to me.
Oh man. What other people were you influenced by? Like said, wow, I cannot believe they took that.
Rob, I couldn't believe Rob Lewis did it. He's a musical director for New Kids on the Block, Tony Braxton, Christina Aguilera. That right there just blew my mind. Mike Burrell participated. It's so many others. Kevin Bond, one I've looked up to in the gospel industry.
He's on right now. I believe Kevin's online now.
What's up, Buck? So it was just seeing everybody just participate, and just it was no egos, just everybody just giving their own interpretation, showing off their talents that God gave them. It was a beautiful thing to see.
Oh, this is awesome. So in 2018, you were nominated for 2 Sound Revolution Awards for Internet Breakout Musician of the Year and Streaming Hit of the Year, Gotta Keep It Pushing.
Yes, sir.
Who launched that award? But tell us about Gotta Keep It Pushing. I remember when it came out. Where did that come? How did you develop it? Tell us about it. Tell us where it came from. Come on, tell us.
Live. I was playing the groove again. And people was like, "Oh, yo, that's a nice groove." And I said, "Okay, cool." And then I thought to myself, I need to do something with this groove before somebody steals it. So I started producing it, and it was such an inspirational feeling for me. I wanted to put not a rapper, not a singer, but just somebody speaking motivational things. And my thought was Martin Luther King. And you can't use his speeches without some copyright issues and all of that other stuff. So I was thinking to myself, who else could I get to do something, say something inspirational? And I thought of my dad, and I took the sermon that he had preached just that previous Sunday. And it had inspired me in such a way that I just chopped it up, put it in the song, and God did the rest.
I mean, it was, I mean, the whole concept, even the cover of it, where you utilized your dad's picture holding you up as a baby. I mean, looking just like your son. It was amazing. I mean, just the whole concept of it. Got to keep pushing. So you really captivated an audience. So what other awards have you received? Did you receive an award for that?
Yes, I've been a part of other awards. A couple of Stellar awards. Jacqueline Carr won her first Dove Award last year, and I played drums on that record. And she's been nominated for some Grammys. So we're yet trying to rack up, the award shelf.
Wow, that is awesome. You developed, Bart, a term I love when I hear it on your album. You developed a term called Barthology,
Yes, sir.
the study of Bart's truth. Tell us how that evolved. Where is it going? What is it trying? Is this a movement, or what do tell us about what that is? Because you made a statement about, I think in a workshop, recently, something about integrity. If you can't keep it, I have to look up.
Discipline over have discretion over.
There you go. That's a Barthology. I think that's a Barthology. But start telling us and tell us about that quote. But talk to us about Barthology.
Well, from a kid that thought he was going to be playing basketball for the rest of his life to transitioning to really taking music seriously and being a drummer, from transitioning to being a keyboard player, transitioning from that to being an MD, minister of music, and everything that comes with that, I am constantly learning about myself each and every day. I think if anybody can really see how much I've changed, grown, I think it's my church. And I'm just a transparent guy, and I don't mind allowing people to see the process. I love the process, and I've fallen in love with this process, and I think it's something that people need to see, not so they can judge me, so it can be an encouragement to them to let them know, hey, you may see me on the stage, but I'm no different from you, and there's nothing that I'm not going through. So having 2 kids early, just life itself, it's made me who I am today, and that comes out in my music because I play from my heart. So that's the study of Barthology, and that's my life, that's my music, that's what I've been through, that's what I'm going to go through, that's what I'm striving towards. So that's kind of what that is.
And we know a lot is going to come out of that term. A lot of books are going to come out of it. Your music, your own publishing company, everything's going to be. It's coming out of that because you're living you out of your truth, and I appreciate you for it. We thank you for it. So you have now. You're MD for church, and you play for a variety of artists. Is there a difference between MD for church? What are the qualities for that? What is there really a difference for MD for church worship? When you put a different hat on when you go to Brown?
Yes,
but when you go to Miranda, is there a different hat, or is it all the same? Is the differentiation there?
I would say it's a different hat, but it serves the same purpose, and that is understanding the culture of who you're working for.
Wow.
When I play at Brown Baptist, I have to, I got to be very Baptist. When I'm with Miranda, it's more it's matching the intensity of the artist that I'm playing for. So one thing that I try to do is understand the people and the culture that comes behind them. That's why I said earlier, finding my identity within the identity of the platform that I'm serving.
Wow. Talk a little bit more about that, because that's so. Is that learned? Is that inherited? What is that? How do you do that? How do you learn the culture? I mean, like you said so easily. You said you learn the culture of who you're playing for. You learn the culture of Brown. You learn the culture of Miranda Curtis. You learn the culture of Kurt Carr. So how does this? Because you can be around them and still don't learn it. I mean, I talk to us about this.
For me, it starts with just respecting them. And once you respect somebody, you take what they bring to the table seriously. So I respect every platform that I go to. At church, I have to act a certain way, I have to be a certain way. And I guess the best example would be the way that we dress when we go on these certain gigs. I can go with Miranda Curtis to All Nations. I can wear ripped jeans. I can wear a t-shirt, a hoodie, have my hat to the back. Cool. When I go with Kurt Carr, I have to suit up. I got to put on a suit. And so just respecting the platform that you're in front of, that will take you so far in this industry, because a lot of people hire you based on how well that you make them look. Wow. If I came on to an artist and I made them look bad, I serve no purpose, even before I touch a keyboard, before I touch a drum set. So I always try to respect the platforms of everybody around me and just show love, and then try to understand those people and understand those platforms that I'm a part of. And once you do that, God will put you in a place where you won't be where you don't fit. There's some things that it's just not for me. So I've been blessed that, wherever I'm supposed to be, God puts me in that place, and you would know it once you respect it because you know what you can do and you know what you can't do.
Right. Oh, that's awesome, Bart. Bart, that is amazing. So, what are the key components do you deem necessary for a music director? I'm going to go through each enter music director, organist, keyboardist, lead guitar. But I want you to tell me key components if you want to demonstrate something on it. But what are some key components that you think a person that calls himself an MD, they're looking for that job?
The music director has to know everybody's part. And you gotta, if the guitar player is playing something wrong, you have to know how to correct that. The bass player, and and so forth. So the music director, if you don't want to sit there and study the lyrics, study the melodies, study the harmonies, and all, there's been sometimes I've had to go on the road with Miranda. She's not going to make it to sound check, so I'm there. I'm by myself, so the background singers are looking like, hey, are we singing this part right? So I have to literally teach the parts to the people. So that's that has always been a learning curve for me because it keeps you growing, and especially when you start playing with different artists, you have to learn everything. As far as a keyboard player, we all look at that as the main instrument. So I always, especially in church, keyboard players. Well, actually, every instrument, if you actually just know the music, know the lyrics, know the artist, you will find your place within that area. There's sometimes where a guitar player is supposed to solo, and sometimes those solos are as simple as just singing the melody that's been sung this whole time, playing the melody that's been sung right before you. So I always try to study everything because you never know what position you're going to be in. Drummers, please keep your timing. That's dynamics. It, it's all across. It goes full circle. Dynamics, playing, knowing when to play loud, knowing when to play low. I play at a 7-day Adventist church. I don't think they've ever seen me sweat. I don't think they've ever seen me play hard, do a lot of speech because they just don't require that. And so as a drummer, I kind of just play low. You wouldn't even think I really play drums, but I just understand what my role is. And once you're a musician, if you have a leader, there's nothing like asking questions. Like I used to go to Boulevard and I used to ask a million questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? Carl Crawford, who was the minister of music at Brown, I used to ask him so many questions. I used to go with him when he used to teach the parts, listening to the records. So you just knowing your craft and then studying that craft. And when you want to expand, that's when you start asking people things that you don't know because it's outside of your field. And once you do that, the sky's the limit.
So you started moving Bart into as an MD. All that. Thank you for that information. Those are great tidbits. I know we have a lot of time. I don't want to take you a lot of time this late, but tell us now. So you're now moving into production. So tell us, how did that happen? What are the needed skills for it? You've masterfully doing it. I mean, you set up a studio right there, as others have. So tell us about. You can turn your screen around if you want. Go to your board and show us what are some basics that needed. But how did this all? And how did you start? How did you start with it?
It's funny. I started serving. Sherry Jones Moffitt was doing a live recording.
By the way, her husband's online right now, Dion.
What's up, man? Sherry Jones Moffitt was doing a live recording, and they were rehearsing at Brown Baptist. And so while they were rehearsing, I was just the guy getting their water, getting the whatever y'all need. I was just so excited to be around it. So one day they went out to eat. I told my boy Tim, who was playing keys for the record, I said, let me know when y'all coming back. And he was like, hey, we on our way back. And when they came back, I decided to get on the drums and start playing so they could hear me, to know that I could play. And so that's what the producer for that was, Myron Butler. And he said, man, you play music? I was like, yeah, you should meet, I'm the pastor's son, you should meet my dad. Myron, hey, take Bart under your wing, whatever you got to do, just show him the ropes. And it's so funny now because Myron is actually the choir director at the church now. So it's amazing how God just, places stuff. And that was like almost 10 years ago. And I had, I was playing around and came up with some melodies. I said, hey, man, I got a song. I want to see if you could write to it. But it was on a voice memo. He said, hey, do you have Pro Tools? I must admit, I was like, yeah, I got that. and I didn't know what it, didn't know what it was, didn't know what I was doing. He said, "Okay, well, track it out for me and then send it to me." So I called my dad. I said, "Dad, I got to get Pro Tools immediately." I got Pro Tools, and I set up the keyboard. Didn't know what I was doing. Got on YouTube, learned it for what it was at that moment, and I tracked out my first song and sent it to him so he could write to it. And that's what started me to doing production.
That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable, that story. And I remember that recording. I attended that recording. That's unbelievable. So tell us some tidbits about production. What you think are key tidbits a person is starting, or where you are. What are the tidbits for a great producer? Like we look at the Kevin Bonds, who's put out great records. What do you think? Is it a combination of being an MD first, or what are some great tools for great productions now that you think a great producer?
I would say number one, it's just like the gig. It's really understanding whoever you're producing. I can't give you something if I don't know what you want. I don't know what the vision is. Understanding the vision is very important. And then once you understand the vision, there's nothing new under the sun. So
Wow.
I like to take references and study people that have come before me, people that are right beside me doing what they do, and just kind of really embody the vibe of the production and really get what's supposed to happen. I'll never forget. I apologize for that. Kevin Bond, which is one of my favorite keyboard player producers of all time. I've I mimic my production after Kevin Bond. He is very keyboard piano heavy. He made everything is centered around the piano, and so I've always studied how he allows the band and the singer to do two different things, but it all falls in sync with what he does. And you have other producers like such as Aaron Lewis. He's a band type of guy. You're gonna hear the lyrics, you're gonna hear the chops and all of that other stuff. And Daniel Saray, he did the same thing with Todd Tribbett. That early GA feel, the band was just matching the intensity of the vocals, and then he comes back and then he does Jason Nelson for Forever Is a Long Time. That's How Much I Love You, and it's just subtle. So in Dana Saray, Kevin Bond, if you study their track record, they are chameleons to whoever the artist is. So I always try to catch the vibe, and then it's just it's a hit and miss thing. So you're gonna mess up a couple of times, but once you really embody the vision and respect the platform, don't overdo the artist, but still at the same time show that you belong here and respect the music. Sometimes I'll say "Come Thou Fount." Justin Savage and Anthony Brown, they did a great arrangement to that. I can't play "Come Thou Fount" and just be like, you gotta, it's as simple as, what I'm saying, and it's just that simple chords, but people will respect you because number one, they can hear the words because you're not overplaying the words. They can feel the melody, and all you're doing is just being what I would say the bed. You know what I'm saying? You're just sitting right under them, and you're just being that foundation that they need, so the lyrics and the melody can shine. Because there is no song without a lyric, without a melody. So that I always try to showcase the lyric and the melody, and at the same time add a little flair to it, to where it just the seasoning on it.
I noticed that in something you sent earlier today with I'll let you tell us about the artist that you sent the single on, and I listened to it and I commented that the piano and the articulation of the strings, man, it was just so masterfully done, but it did not overshadow it. It just was interwoven so well with what the singer was doing. It helped her shine, but it was the bed. It was so powerful.
Yes, sir.
The piece started off, it was just blowing my mind. I wish that could have been longer. But so what do you think are, just this is real basic, some essential tools if you're starting to produce or into production? what are some simple tools and equipment that you can talk about that I think this is what I think you need to start with? You mentioned Pro Tools. If you want to turn, if you can turn and say, this is what I have a mic here. I don't know if you want to go into all that, but tell us what you think.
If you see here, I have of course, the keyboard. This is my computer in the interface. That
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
So you want to control they either whether it's a keyboard or a controller. That's what's going to give you the sounds and all of that stuff. Then you got to have an interface because that's the middle ground between the controller and the DAW. They call it the DAW, and that's just a software. Whether you use Logic, Fruit Loops, that Ableton is very big now, Pro Tools, and all of that. And it's just after you get those things, you just learn it and you dig into it. There's classes you can take. YouTube will be your best friend. Google will be your best friend. And it's just something that you have to put in the work to. You can literally Google how to start a studio, and they give you the steps. There's nothing that you can't find out with Google and YouTube. And once you do that, you find what you really need. I just started using this little small thing. That's because I'm getting into the more of a hip hop beat type of thing. So I don't need all of this other stuff.
Tell us what it is. Tell us what it is. Hold it up. What is it?
So this is what we call the controller, and it's just a small thing. But when I download certain softwares that can do the beats, we use the pads and all of that stuff, and you use a MIDI controller, MIDI cord looks like this. You plug it in wherever it's supposed to go, right here, and you just go for it. I'm big on samples now. I love samples. You can get samples from anywhere. So I'm getting into a new phase of production. I've been doing gospel all my life, but now I'm kind of doing more inspirational pop, country, stuff like that. So now it's making me learn all over again. So you never stop learning when you're doing production.
Yeah. So Bart, we're winding down now. You've shared so much information. I appreciate it. Just a couple of things. So tell us about what valuable life lessons have you learned? Tell us about some valuable life lessons that you learned.
Couple of valuable life lessons. God really will speak to you if you ask him to. And I came up with this acronym. I call it, if you want to go anywhere, you got to get in the car and you got to go. And that car is being consistent. C, being consistent. A, being authentic. And R, being relevant. Those are pillars that I kind of just base myself on. I live by those. You got to be consistent. We are living in such an inconsistent world these days. You're seeing musicians and artists just fall, preachers and all the other stuff, simply for just not being consistent in what they're talking about, what they're preaching. So I always want to be consistent to what I am, consistent to my truth. Authentic is very big for me, simply because my style of playing, especially in my genre, gospel, it's not per se normal, what people are used to hearing, but me staying consistent to my authenticity has literally allowed me to travel this world. So I've always tried to stick to being me, just loving the growth, loving where I've come from, because if I didn't come from there, I wouldn't be where I am now. And then that relevant is what really keeps you humble, because just like today, my little brother Bates, he had to show me some stuff today when it comes to production. He showed me some new plugins that I could get. And had I been that guy, man, I travel all over the world. I don't need you to show me anything. What can you do for me? What can you show me? You don't know nothing like that. So staying relevant is literally just learning what's new. Yeah. And when you're learning what's new, you're literally humbling yourself to what's around you in your environment. So those three things are just that's like my life motto right there. But stay consistent, stay authentic, and stay relevant.
Wow, that's amazing. So what's on the horizon for Bart Orr? What's on the horizon? Tell us what's on the
horizon. Man, record labels, movies, TV, film scoring, TV show. I'm trying to do it all. There's absolutely no limit to what I do when it comes to my career, and I'm really getting into learning the behind the scenes of what everybody does.
Mm,
I ask makeup artists, hey, how do y'all know what to use when y'all do makeup artists for makeup artists? The camera guys, hey, what kind of lens is this? What
yeah,
is the production managers, the tour managers? I'm really pulling from everybody that I get to meet on this journey, so that when I need to be the CEO and I can call all the shots, I'll be well versed in everything that I need to know.
that is brilliant. And you're well on your way, Bart. You're well on your way. So we have a large audience of all kinds of people, musicians, pastors, everybody watching. You've already told us three life lessons that and you may want to repeat those, but what do you think things that you think are important to ascertain musical excellence? What are three areas and what would you say to
One
that?
Number one, musical excellence. I would I would say is dedication.
Mm,
That there are some times that I haven't been able to go to sleep because I'm just studying. I'm up learning. Um, and number two, I would say is being versatile and respecting all type of music. The track that I sent earlier was with Timothy Figueroa, the medley. Not I choose one, but that's the name of her album, by the way. But calling my name, and the string person is Nicole Neely, the arranger, and she is so well versed. She would play in the orchestras and the Carnegie Halls type of situations. And just me respecting her craft, her respecting me, that's what gets you into other doors. So she sent me some Mozart stuff the other day. Hey, listen to this. I think it will make your key. I think it would, put you in another direction with your key playing and expand you. And if I was just like Mozart, like, dude, come on, I don't got time to listen to Mozart. I got all this other stuff I'm doing. But just the fact that I take time to even consider respecting other genres of music, it just expands me in ways that I never thought. Even hip hop, rap. I wasn't. I didn't grow up learning rap, listening to rap, of course, because my father wasn't on that. But listening to the production of it, I've Timbaland is one of the greatest producers, and I really didn't really recognize it to later on in my life. Like, dude, this dude is amazing. I know we talk about Kanye West, but he's a genius with samples.
mm,
Quincy, he's a genius with he Frank Sinatra and then Michael Jackson at the same time. There's no way you can be Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson if you don't take the time to respect. And I know I know we're talking about music, but it's just the regular principles of life that I've learned growing up in church. Just respect and love everybody. And you never know where your next door is coming from somebody else. So those two things, and then last, just having a drive. Uh, it's a tough road. I've done the 15 passengers going to play for $25. I've done producing tracks for free. Uh, I've produced some tracks that didn't come out, but I didn't let that stop me from what I know my ultimate goal is, what I feel I've been called to do, and what I feel is the purpose on my life. And I'm gonna add a fourth one, and that's being open to other doors that your original calling will set you up for. I've been playing music for a minute. I've I've, I've gotten a platform, and now the last couple of gigs I didn't have has been speaking to kids and speaking to
mm.
high. And I don't know where that's gonna go, but just not being afraid of just opening myself up to anything new and operating in the same confidence and taking those same principles that I use with music and inputting those into everything else that I do. It's really I feel like I've been born again. Like it's just a new wave right now. I'm enjoying every step of it. But just having that drive to just really do, to just keep going, because trials and tribulations are going to come in whatever you do. But if you just stick to the mission, don't worry about the position. Also,
Wow.
don't worry
Wow.
about the position within the mission, because I've been a drummer a long time, not knowing that was going to set me up to be a music director. I've respected leaders and sometimes they give me an idea, and I feel like maybe that may be corny, but keeping your mouth shut and respecting and just letting God orchestrate your life, that will just take you so far. So it's those four things for me. That's really what keeps me going.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, I have seen the growth, and I just can't say I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, and grateful for the friendship, and yeah, just who you have become, and great things are going to come, continue
And
to come.
I know you're envying me, but I know that's watching. Dr. Leo Davis has fired me. That's the only person that's ever. And and he set me down even like that. He would tell me, "Hey son, I don't know what you're doing, boy. You don't have any sense in your head." So it's people like you that have literally just sometimes I get into a situation, I think about things that you said and other things that people that have mentored me along this way have said. And I thank God for mentors that aren't afraid to discipline and to share knowledge and not too arrogant to just be like, hey, you might be better than me one day, and I'm gonna make sure I help you be that. So that's a huge thing. That's why I say the power of connection is way more powerful than powerful currency, because I've been in situations where I didn't have the money to get a plug-in, but because I was connected to somebody that had that plug-in, I got it for free. So always be careful and be wise when it comes to how you look at people and how you treat people, because you never know who you're going to need at the end of the day.
Never know it. Man,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much. It means a lot. I'm not going to tie you up. We've had a wonderful. I'm asking my audience to share and
Absolutely.
clip and connect with Bart Orr. Whatever you need, he's there. While he's there, he's touchable guy, and he gives and gives and gives. So we're excited about the things to come and look forward to it. Don't forget next Friday, February the 15th, Linda Twine will be with us. Music director, conductor on Broadway, has been for years, and she'll be sharing as others we finish out the month. Bart, why don't you end us in prayer? Do you mind closing us in prayer?
Absolutely. Dear God, we thank you for this day. Before we ask you for anything, we want to ask you for we want to tell you thank you for everything. Please forgive us for anything that we've done knowingly and unknowingly. And we thank you for this platform that Leo Davis has provided for other musicians and just entrepreneurs, whoever just wants to learn and be inspired. We thank you for him. We pray that you enlarge his territory. And thank you for guys like Leo Davis, Bartholomew Orr Sr., that have just instilled so much into young guys like me. And please cover the young guys like me. Help us to respect our elders. Help us to be an example to the ones coming after us. And we just thank you for everything that you're going to do, everything that you've already done. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, buddy. Love you. We'll talk.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
100.